Uh, Good afternoon, good evening, good night, good day, wherever you are in the world. Queen Poetry 73 here. Just here to talk about what we knew then. The old saying used to be, you know, I wish I knew now, you know, I wish then I knew it, you know, and I sat there and I thought about that for a while. And we all probably some most of us are guilty for saying it. I wish I knew what I know now then. So so it's true, but the only problem is that we really knew nothing. Let's face it, y'all, we were young. We were children. We were immature. We had no idea. Some of us prayed we lived to see, this day and this time, you know. So it's like nothing meaning, we were at an immature, mentality and physical state in our minds. We were not fully developed. In fact, our hearts were not fully developed to receive what God had and has for us. Our minds could not fathom success, prosperity, spirituality. You know, if so, and if we were, it would have blown our minds, or we would have destroyed it for the lack of knowledge, because the word of God says that we perish for the lack of knowledge. He said, my people perish for the lack of knowledge. You know, we've blown opportunities to be talented, to be successful, to have been genius, because we were still in a child and immature state and mode. Okay? As the greatest apostle Paul, who ever lived, said in 1 Corinthians 13:11, that is 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 11. When I was a child, I spoke as a child. I understood as a child. I thought as a child. I reasoned like a child. Now that I've become a man, I am done with childish ways. This alone sums it all up for me. This is why I'm saying this. You know, although we have some people who choose to keep this childish mentality and try to operate and function as an adult, it's like water and wine or water and oil. They don't mix good together. Oil and water. The people say oil and, just like oil and water, they don't mix. That's what it's like. It's like seeing a grown man in a dressed up suit swinging from the monkey bars on a playground during recess. Okay? Or like a woman sitting in the middle of a doll store in a colorful dress in a daze holding a baby doll. It doesn't fit. Okay? So this is what I'm trying to say. Um, we take our children, our grandchildren to the amusement parks, to the, you know, uh, um, community parks, and to doll stores. We don't, we don't take ourselves. Okay, you know, we let them play. Now, I'm not saying there's something wrong with you going out playing with your grandchild or your granddaughter, grandson. I'm not saying that. That's not what I'm talking about. That's not what I'm talking about. I was just, pondering. Now that I'm saying is, thank you, Holy Spirit. Like Pee Wee Herman. We were children. We skipping along, tell them Large Marge sent you, and all that stuff. That was a big grown man skipping around town. And we, as children, again, that immature, that child state mind, that's what I'm talking about. We were children. We had no idea. All we knew was colorful, it was fun, and, people was looking for his bike. We didn't have no clue what we were entertaining or who was entertaining us. Okay? All of that to say this, y'all. It's time for us to grow up. It's time for men to be men, women to be women, and let's move in that light. Let's move in what God has called us to be. Okay? Just, sitting around. I made a statement the other day calling, looked like dressed up death. Dressed up death. Dressed up death meaning the 90s and 80s are gone. It's time to move from that dressed up 80 and 90 style and move into the 21st century. It's nothing wrong with memories. God knows my mother always said, make memories. I love memories. But come on, y'all. We cannot stay there. We cannot stay in the 80s. We can't stay in the 90s. Better yourself. Become a better version of you. Change your outlook. Change your inner appearance. Romans 12 says, be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. It's time to be transformed. It's time to come out of that state. The 90s, I love the 90s. God, Jesus, thank you for the 90s era. But how is the 90s era benefiting you now? What is it doing for you now? I mean, back in the 90s, it's a lot of me. I know me, I was in my 20s. I can't go back in the 90s right now and pull something up into the 21st century and I'm almost 50 years old. That don't look right. I ain't learned nothing. Ain't got nothing going on. Not doing anything. Okay? So it's time to move into that light, and let's stop dressing up death, walking around, with our grown bodies, but with an immature mentality. Okay? Again, like I said, meaning lay down the 80s and 90s. It's time to put that to rest. Let that stay down and pick up what's in the 21st century. Change the way you dress. Change the way you talk. Change the way you walk. Start changing some things about you to become, and so people can see the better version of you. And start living your purpose out in this life. Living out what God has called you to do. Living out who God has called you to be. Okay? In this life. That's what we are. I'm not saying you can't have memories. It's good to keep memories. Memories keep you vibrant. Memories, laughter and things like that. The word of God says that laughter does the body good like a medicine. Okay? So it's nothing wrong with that. It's just time for us to become the better versions of ourselves. Give our grandchildren and our children and nieces and nephews of things to look at and look up to rather than letting society raise them. Okay? Letting what they see on TV raise them. Letting what they hear on the radio raise them. Okay? So my charge and challenge to you today is to look around you, seeing what you can do to change and to become the better version of yourself. You know what I'm saying? Thinking back, I wish I knew then what I know now. Okay? But the fact of the matter is, y'all, we wasn't ready. And we're still not ready for what God has for us. And I always say, when you get the spirit before the pleasure, you'll enjoy it, you'll value it. You'll know how to treat it. Okay? So again, my charge and take and challenge to you today is to look around and see if you can change some things about you to become more mature, to let the immature state die and stay dead. Okay? It's time to better ourselves, guys. Okay, as always, be encouraged, be uplifted, be empowered. Most of all, self love. Why? Because He loved you first. As always, I am Queen Poetry 73, and this is my charge and challenge on I wish what I knew now, I wish I knew then. Okay? Or what I knew then, I know now. Okay? I love you guys. As always, stay safe. Bye.